Chapter 60. Blue Flame Ruler. 9 Cycles of Wind Roaming. The words were written in green. There seemed to be a strong sound of a storm, causing Xiaoyan's soul to feel a slight pain. However, it did not affect Xiaoyan, who had been tortured by his soul several times. Immediately, his soul force covered all of the green words and began to study them carefully. 9 Revolving Wind Body. Although it is an intermediate monarch spell, it is comparable to an ordinary advanced movement technique, the monarch spell. I need to refine these wind beams into wind beads and absorb them into my body. A trace of wind energy will be born within my body in order to cultivate them. 9 Revolving Wind Body. Although it is an intermediate monarch spell, it is comparable to an ordinary advanced movement technique, the monarch spell. The 9 Revolving Wind Body is divided into 3 steps. The first step is the 3 Revolving Wind, the second step is the 6 Revolving Wind, and the third step is the 9 Revolving Wind Body. Those who have achieved great success can move freely, as if they are riding the wind. After reading the introduction, Xiaoyan was slightly surprised. The movement technique, monarch skill, which was comparable to a high-grade monarch spell, had made up for his weakness in speed. This was the first time Xiaoyan had seen such a strange method that required him to refine the wind beam into a wind ball to absorb it into his body. Immediately, he was filled with curiosity. He carefully read the last part of the request several times. After memorizing it, his soul power shook and the hundreds of green words scattered like a breeze. The moment the green words were about to disappear, Xiaoyan's soul power suddenly increased. A wild wind swept over all the green words and then a soul pressure came from the depths of his soul like lightning. With a slight cracking sound, hundreds of green words suddenly turned into nothingness and slowly formed in Xiaoyan's powerful soul. According to the description, Xiaoyan spent 3 days to form the wind pearl this time. 3 days later, a light green medicine pill-sized bead was slowly rotating in the scroll. This was the first time Xiaoyan had used his soul power for such a long time. Xiaoyan suddenly felt a tearing pain between his eyebrows. After withdrawing his soul from the scroll, exhaustion immediately flooded over like a tide, instantly covering Xiaoyan's entire body. Spitting out a somewhat turbid breath, Xiaoyan's eyelids drooped down powerlessly. He shook his head and forcefully dispersed the sleepiness in his mind. Xiaoyan struggled to sit cross-legged and quickly forced himself into a state of cultivation. After about half a day of cultivation, Xiaoyan's eyelashes trembled, and then he opened his eyes. A ray of light flashed past, and the exhaustion in his eyes was replaced by endless vitality. His soul once again entered the scroll in his hand. A green bead that had been nourished for a long time was quietly standing in the scroll space. There was a slight sound of wind on it, and the occasional roar of a storm could be heard. With a slight movement of his soul energy, this green bead had already followed his soul and transformed into a strange ripple before disappearing. Xiaoyan, whose eyes were tightly shut, trembled slightly at this moment. That mysterious fluctuation followed his soul and strangely entered his body. In the blink of an eye, the meridians that he needed to cultivate the 9 revolving wind roaming body were covered with a layer of pale green energy. Feeling that his body had become much lighter, Xiaoyan couldn't help but be amazed. This thing was definitely not something that an ordinary intermediate monarch spell could compare with. The thing that his teacher gave him was truly extraordinary. Following the derivation of a trace of wind energy within his body, the speed at which Xiaoyan cultivated the 9 revolving wind was suddenly much faster. In a short 1 month's time, this middle-grade movement technique, the 9 revolving wind, had already been cultivated to the second step, the 6 revolving wind. While he was cultivating the 9 revolving wind body, Xiaoyan's cultivation of the other monarch spell had not fallen behind. It was a leg technique called the 1000 Illusion Wandering Dragon Leg. It was an attack with a wide range of attacks. The force of the attack was extremely strong. With one kick, a huge rock shattered with a loud bang. The powerful force made Xiaoyan quite satisfied. Especially when the 9 revolving wind swimming body was combined with the 1000 illusion wandering dragon leg, it was extremely fast and had a powerful critical strike. That feeling of surprise attack that was impossible to guard against caused Xiaoyan to instantly kill an intermediate tier spirit beast that had reached the level of a second Dao sovereign master. Cultivation had no time. In Xiaoyan's crazy process of improving his own strength, cultivating the monarch skill, and improving his alchemy skills, as well as increasing his control over his soul and monarch flame. Half a year quietly passed. When Yi Tianqian once again appeared in front of Xiao Yan, half a year had passed. In his hand, there was a weapon that Xiao Yan was extremely familiar with. It was a huge golden ruler that was about the size of a profound heavy ruler. In Xiao Yan's senses, this huge ruler in front of him was filled with a mysterious feeling, as if it had fused with a monarch flame. After the huge ruler was inserted into the ground, there was an unconcealable tiredness on Yi Tianqian's face. Looking at this disciple who was much stronger and more mature than half a year ago, a trace of gratification flashed across Yi Tianqian's deep eyes. He said with a smile, "I have seen you use a black ruler before. Now this blue flame ruler can be regarded as my introductory gift to you." Xiao Yan was shocked, but then he was moved. Although his teacher was not good at expressing his feelings, his heart was like a strand of hair. His profound heavy ruler had gone through several great battles. Although the latter was also forged from rare materials from Fighting Key Continent, it was obviously not suitable for the Great World. Elder Yi's actions were undoubtedly timely help. A trace of warmth flowed through his heart. Xiao Yan did not hesitate. He took the blue flame ruler that was inserted into the ground and held the ruler in his hand. A slight heat was transmitted over and he waved it a few times. It was also very suitable for his hands. When he heard the sound of the wind exploding in the air, Xiao Yan's eyes could not help revealing curiosity. The feeling that this blue flame ruler gave him faintly had a different feeling. The raw material of this blue flame ruler is an extremely rare blue flame refined iron. There is no limit to the great world, but the blue flame refined iron is only produced in the spirit domain. The high-grade blue flame refined iron that can be used to forge weapons with the soul is even rarer. Only a small number of major powers and families in the spirit domain have it, and it is regarded as a treasure. Ordinary people wouldn't even have the chance to see it. When I was exploring the spirit domain, I happened to encounter an outbreak of the accumulated injuries in the holy beast of a large family. It's the original form of the little black scorpion that you killed. After I refined the medicine pill and healed it, the family head wore it gratefully. He gave me this high-grade greyflame iron. You must know, the value of this grade of greyflame iron is absolutely not lower than a holy arts. Hearing the word holy arts, Xiao Yan's hand that was holding the blue flame ruler couldn't help but tremble. He looked at the blue flame ruler in his hand and the corner of his mouth twitched. This thing was actually so precious. Even if it was a large family that had been passed down for a long time, a holy arts was still a rare item. He never thought that the value of the grey flame iron would actually belong to such a legendary item. The reason why the grey flame iron is so precious is not only because it can be used to forge weapons with soul power, but also because of its memory. Memory. This was the first time Xiao Yan had heard this term, causing him to be stunned. Yes, when I first used my soul power to forge the grey flame iron, that's right. The first time I used my soul power to create the grey flame iron, I added something to its origin. There was once an expert who had added a trace of lightning origin to it when refining it. A weapon that was successfully forged would not only be able to release lightning. It could also absorb lightning from the heavens and earth and store it within its origin. It could strengthen itself and also harm enemies. While I was refining it, I added a trace of the monarch flame's origin, which also means during your battle, monarch flames can silently surge into the blue flame ruler. If you suddenly give your enemy the strongest blow. After hearing these words, the fire in Xiao Yan's eyes became even more intense. He looked at the blue flame ruler as if he was a hungry wolf staring at a piece of fat and fresh meat. This is good stuff, he sighed in his heart. Xiao Yan's heart was pounding because of Elder Yi's casual words. It was hard to guard against a hidden arrow, but it was rare to shoot a hidden arrow in a close combat. Because in an intense battle, the enemy would not give you the chance to prepare anything. Besides, the most taboo thing in a battle was to be distracted. Usually, most battles are unexpected events that are hard to predict. In a battle at this time, it was a battle of strength. However, this blue flame ruler obviously did not belong to this category. Thinking about it, in the battle, both parties were highly focused. However, the monarch flame on the blue flame ruler suddenly appeared. If one was careless in this unpredictable attack, one could only fail. It was also because of this that Xiaoyan's hand that was holding the blue flame ruler could not help but tremble. This special ability of the blue flame ruler was a big killing move that he would use against his enemies in the future. Thank you, teacher. After putting away the blue flame ruler, Xiaoyan was silent for a moment. He said softly to Elder Yi. These short words contained too much gratitude and respect. It was nothing. Besides, I can't waste that gray flame iron. Xiaoyan waved his hand with a smile. Elder Yi said again, I don't have the ruler monarch skill on me. I can't let you get familiar with this blue flame ruler as soon as possible. You can explore it yourself for the next few days. A weapon forged from high-grade gray flame essence iron, even in the spirit domain. It is also rare to see a weapon forged from high-grade gray flame essence iron. Just as he was about to nod his head in agreement, suddenly, a deafening explosion sounded in the distance. Immediately, the entire place shook slightly. As soon as Xiaoyan regained his senses, Elder Yi had already soared into the sky. With a wave of his sleeve, the massive energy that was surging over like a tidal wave slowly dissipated. With a solemn expression, he looked into the distance. After a long while, Elder Yi let out a bitter laugh. A layer of bitterness gradually surged into his eyes. Teacher, what happened? Xiaoyan flapped his heavenly phoenix wings and rose into the air. He looked into the distance and looked up at Elder Yi, who had calmed down. Hey! Elder Yi's body moved slightly and appeared beside Xiaoyan. A trace of gentleness appeared on his old face for the first time. He softly said, Teacher has made some mistakes in his prediction. How long have you been in the illusionary realm? Xiaoyan was stunned when he heard that. A bad feeling quickly rose in his heart. He thought for a while and said in a low voice, almost 3 years. 3 years. Teacher originally thought that it would take another 4 years. Sighing lightly, Elder Yi's voice did not contain any sadness or joy. At most 3 months. This illusion that has maintained for 10,000 years will dissipate. Little fellow, you should prepare to leave. Boom. This news exploded in Xiaoyan's mind like thunder from the 9 heavens. It shook Xiaoyan's head until it buzzed. He opened his mouth and was stunned. Can't bear to part with it. Elder Yi suddenly smiled and sighed. No matter how good and real this illusion realm is, it is only an illusion realm. The endless outside world is the real world. It can make you give it your all. After saying that, Elder Yi narrowed his eyes. Your blood is hot. Furthermore, a strong person. Xiaoyan nodded silently. Although his expression was still somewhat gloomy, he also calmed down. What his teacher said was right. In the end, his heart still yearned for that endless great world. An illusionary realm was an illusionary realm after all. Furthermore, what should come would come sooner or later. Disciple will never let teacher down. When Xiaoyan raised his head once again, the sadness in his eyes had already been replaced by endless determination. A kind of life force that was about to arise as he faced this brand new world arose spontaneously. All right. The word, good, also contained Elder Yi's confidence and expectation towards Xiaoyan. Looking at the disciple who was gradually revealing his outstanding head in front of him, he had reason to believe that Yi Tianshan's disciple would have a place on the list of the future experts in the great world. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.